Hello, welcome to the Yeti Den. My name is Spencer, also known as the Yeti Den, and I have my very good friend with me today, Matt Gorgas, Jumby Jumbla at Jumby Jumbla on YouTube. We have been podcasting together now on the channel for maybe about like 4 or 5 weeks, I want to say, right?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, so
but we're pros.
If you're, yeah, we've known each other for a long time, so it's like we've been building this chemistry for a decade, but we're very, very new to publishing. So if you're like, who are these guys? How long have they been doing this? Canonically, I would say we still don't exist yet because we don't have a name, but unofficially, we've been releasing these episodes as of like the last 4 or 5 weeks. So you're about as new as we are to this show. And today, I thought it would be fun to just kind of unpack the Fallout trailer that was released a few days ago, and kind of share our thoughts. And because Matt, you and I actually haven't talked about the TV show yet together.
Nope.
So I don't know too many of your thoughts, and I don't think you know my thoughts. I haven't even really made a video on this yet either. And so if you're a fan of the channel or new to the channel even, we do a lot of Fallout content on this channel and a lot of Bethesda content. And Matt is kind of, your channel, I want to say, is a little bit more geared towards like the Pokemon and retro Game Boy scene. So you guys kind of get a little bit of Team Nintendo and Sony with Matt, and Team Xbox, and I love my Switch, so I guess we've talked about this. We're both kind of Switch guys, maybe future Steam Deck guys down the road. But I think we're both, that's probably the most mutual ground we have is the Nintendo Switch. But we like all consoles, but I think we both grew up also with Bethesda, because Matt, you are a Skyrim guy. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. We both bonded over RPG, and Skyrim included. So
that's a great way to put it. Wherever an RPG is, you will find one of us there. So, this TV show is going to be what we unpack, as well as, if we have time, I just wanted to mention Dragon Dogma's character creator. You love character creators, Matt. I love Dragon's Dogma, the first one. So we'll mash that up for a little bit of conversation to see if we're getting hyped about the sequel. But besides that, we are going to be talking about the games we've been playing this week. But first, Matt, why don't you tell us, how was your week so far?
Week was solid. I got some good game time in, got to know Final Fantasy VII Rebirth better, and the Return to Moria game I was telling you about last week. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about those again. What about you?
I'm excited. Yeah, same with you. I feel like I got some good, beefy game time. I was guilting Mo last night into staying up late and watching me play Lies of P. So I was like, it's so much more fun when I have an audience. Like you gotta sew in the room with me and watch me play Lies of P. Do you ever make Caitlin watch you play a single player game and keep you company?
She's always watching, whether she has a choice or not. She's I'm like, hey, look at this, and I even like talk to her as I play, and we've come to an agreement that like she pretends to listen, and but I'm really just talking to myself. So that's how it works for me. And I just wanted to mention though, I love getting all your I love how we trade character kind of atmosphere, vibe, aesthetic pictures. Whether we're playing like Cyberpunk and I'm sending you my version of V, doing like a cool flip with guns, or like you're sending me Lies of P you guys standing there ominously with your saber out, like super sick. So I love when we do that.
Yeah, it's fun. I've been obsessed with Liza P. It's just gets better and better. So yeah, that's what we've got for you guys planned today. So yeah, let's talk about the Fallout official trailer. I keep wanting to say it's a Fallout 4 official trailer because to me, this is my takeaway was this trailer is kind of giving major Fallout 4 energy. If you're a fan of Fallout 1, Fallout 2, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, I don't know if you're like recognizing the aesthetic of this as much. And maybe that's just me, and maybe that's because I'm always working my way through Fallout 4's DLC and main game. But to me, I was like, if you haven't played Fallout 4, you're missing a lot of the fan moments. And I was curious if you got that takeaway too. Like, does it feel like it's a post Bethesda Fallout show or a pre Bethesda Fallout show to you?
Definitely post for me. I really want to piggyback on that Fallout 4 type of experience. I even got the same feeling from the trailer as I did when I was playing the intro of Fallout 4. The same quirkiness, like everything's okay. Things can be fun and silly, but then here's this really scary, ominous vibe going on. And so that's like always dancing and clashing on the screen or in the game as well. So I think they're trying to capture that. I think they're trying to move past it. Like we'll talk about a little bit, unless we want to talk about it right now. I'm going to get into it, like the behind the scenes of the trailer.
Yeah.
How
Why
they were
don't
mentioning.
you go for that? Yeah, tell
Sorry.
us what they were saying in this is the Den of Geek Secrets of Amazon's Fallout TV show interview at South by Southwest.
Yeah. So basically what I was picking up from the behind the scenes video was how, sorry, I can hear my wife calling outside. Do you mind to give me a moment really quick? I'm sorry, guys. Sorry about that.
No worries. We're back.
I totally lost my train of thought.
Oh yeah, I was just saying
in that moment. What was I talking about?
We were talking about how, to me, this feels like they're really bouncing off of Fallout 4 specifically, as opposed to Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, which would still be Bethesda, and then especially Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Like, I've only played a little bit of Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, but to me, Fallout New Vegas and the Outer Worlds is more of a branch of that style. And then Fallout 3 is kind of like the primer for what has become Fallout 4, which to me seems like the new kind of canon for how Amazon is building off of Fallout 4. And you brought up something about that you were going to mention something from the behind the scenes video at South by Southwest.
Right. Yes. So behind the scenes, the producers were mentioning that they were joking with Todd saying, is this Fallout 5? Is this safe to say? And Todd was making comments back that this is not necessarily Fallout 5 because he specifically told them they can't do certain things with the story that he wants to do in the next Fallout 5. And so they're like, okay, maybe it's like Fallout 6 then, right? And so it totally feels like it is post Fallout 4, totally inspired by it. Because I think Fallout 4 has a little bit more of that kind of everything about Fallout exaggerated. And I feel like the original, first three games, the first one I played actually was Fallout 3, and I felt like that had a lot more of a darker undertone than the trailer. I got more of almost like Guardians of the Galaxy, a little bit of that quirkiness, maybe even a little bit of that kind of vibe that we see in the Borderlands trailer. not as much as that. A little bit more leaning towards the quirkiness that we see in Last of Us, but still, it didn't feel as dark as Last of Us. Did you get that vibe too when you were watching it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Bethesda has tried to make Fallout more mainstream in the way that Grand Theft Auto is a more mainstream title. So I think that's trying to appeal to a broader audience, trying to I think where they tend to seem to place when you watch a trailer, right? You're like
Right.
how they capture the footage, how they present the role playing of it is always silly. And I think that's a good and a bad thing. I think it's good because it's trying to capture the dark humor of Fallout. I think it's bad because when you go up against Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk, it's like it's missing some of that mystery, right? That sense of intrigue. And so I think the trailer nailed what Fallout 4 is. And it'll be a question of if Fallout 4 works as a TV show. Because I think
Right.
the Fallout franchise, to me, does seem to work as like something that would be developed for a TV show. The question is silly gonna be the best way to do it? And I think they have to do it silly for it to match the tone of Fallout 4 and how like there's always been a sense of humor attached to the Fallout franchise, and that comes from Timothy Kane and Leonard Boyarsky, the original creators of the first two games. At least Boyarsky was on the first two games, but the difference between Obsidian humor and Bethesda humor is Obsidian humor is really dark and really like sarcastic and academic. And I would say Bethesda's sense of humor is much sillier. It's more of a silly, playful, kind of quirky, like you said, Borderlands style sense of humor.
It's
and
fantasy, right?
Yeah,
Fantasy.
yeah. It's
It
a little
reminds
bit.
me of Baldur's Gate. Even like it's very quirky.
Mhm. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull that off. I'm always one who's more drawn into like scary and dark, like did you watch
Yes,
Silo? Okay. To
I
me,
did
that
watch
was Fallout.
Silo.
That
Spencer,
was Fallout in my
did I
head.
just hear you right? Did you just say you wanted to go outside? Did everyone hear that? That he wanted to go outside?
that
Go
show
watch
was
Silo.
great.
Go watch.
Yes.
It's so
I've
good.
read I've read a book, or I listened to the audiobook. I will say I think the show is actually I liked it better than I liked the book. I thought the show was amazing. And so
Yes.
I honestly kind of feel like in a way I got my Fallout TV vibe. The other one that kind of captures Fallout is Severance. I feel like if you have Severance
I haven't
and
seen that.
Silo, okay, they're dystopian like dramas with action and some dark humor, and that
Mhm.
to me is Fallout, right? So in a way, we've seen what Fallout could be on television, like especially with Silo. It seems so
Right.
inspired by Fallout. Um, so yeah, I
What
don't.
do you
That's
what do
the
you think about Oh, sorry. Go on.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about really quick the main protagonist in regards to their take on the protagonist being naive, like not knowing what's going on in the world above this whole time, right? And so, like in the trailer, to me, she looks super naive, like almost like more so than any Fallout character. And what are your thoughts about that direction? Are you going to have to wait and see how that plays out, or was that already a kind of not so strong of a choice, and maybe other characters are going to carry the show? What do you think about
Mm,
that aspect of the main protagonist?
I think. I think for me, I'm really inspired by visual directors. So like Denis, who just did Dune 2, like he did Blade Runner. 2049, and then Ridley Scott, who did Blade Runner and Alien, where I'll buy into your universe and your characters if I'm drawn in visually by the art design of the world. That applies to Silo. Like, I think the way Silo's marketing didn't hook me in until I got to watch the show. I would see posters and be like, what's that about? And so for me, how I feel about the main protagonist will entirely depend on if the world that she's surrounded by immerses me, right? So like, I think another series that does that really well is John Wick. Like, John Wick, it's really hard to sell John Wick from a trailer. You need to be in the theaters and like watch it and feel like you're bought into the universe, and all the casting choices make so much more sense when you're in that world, totally immersed. And so I don't think I have too strong of an opinion yet either way. I've liked some of the action moments. I really liked the scene that they show where she gets shot with the syringe by I want to say I forget what that robot is called, but it's a robot from the previous games that I forget. It's like it's not Wally, but it's something like Wally, the name. But yeah, that robot shoots her with the syringe. And that moment I was like, okay, cool. That seems like she's in danger. I want characters to feel like they're in danger. I don't want them to feel like there isn't a real threat in the universe, right? Like that's the challenge too. Of one of these worlds. Is like,
I've been like a little bit worried as I watched the trailer with her being naive. Like, I don't want her like kind of, I guess, storyline, her inner conflict and like making a joke out of it to like override the tone of this world, this Fallout universe. I think that is the most important thing. And like you said, Silo kind of captured that for me, just like you, that dark, gritty, mysterious tone of like what's out there, and something really bad happened. What is bad that happened? And let's go have this cool adventure to discover it. With the show, I hope it's not just like a running joke the whole time, like Borderlands is going to probably be, which was like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, it's just a big blockbuster in an entertaining movie. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I think of Fallout and what I want from Fallout is I want a bit of that horror, but then uncovering a greater mystery, a greater lore in a sense. Like, I want to by the end of this movie, like, know more about this land and why I don't want it to be in the wasteland.
And conversely, a great dystopian fantasy makes you both shiver at the empathy of feeling what the character's feeling, but secretly kind of think like, it's also kind of cozy and cool. I also kind of want to be in that world. Like when I watch John Wick, I'm like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't want to live his life, but I wouldn't mind walking into the Continental for a little bit and like checking out that hotel, or the Matrix. Right. Like I don't want to be in the Matrix, but if I got to just walk around a little bit, we always say like, would you rather get dropped into like Middle Earth or like the wizarding world of Harry Potter? Like it's like which one's more dangerous? But also you almost don't care about that. You care about, well, would you rather see the Shire or would you rather see Hogwarts? It's like they're both going to be dangerous and you're going to be stressed out, but like that immersion can carry you and draw in the audience to where they go, Elden Ring was so frightening and terrible, but I also kind of want to live there. Or Resident Evil is so horrific and so creepy, but oh, I love the mansion. Like people can become attached to these cinematic locations, and really those geographical points of interest can become very comforting to the audience if they're created. The Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, right? That. Like you feel so cozy when you walk into the room, and so it needs to be terrifying and also something that you just love and adore. And so Yeah, will they pull that off? We won't
I
know probably until we watch it, but
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we're just gonna have to watch it. They piqued my interest enough. I am gonna watch it. But again, like something I also really love about the games is that from the moment the narrator starts talking, you understand that we're talking about life and death here, and we're talking about major world consequences. We're talking about a father or a mother's love for their child and being separated and having to go on this journey to go find my son or daughter, right? Like there's already the stakes are already high in the beginning, and it throws you into that kind of world that it propels you forward, it inspires you to engage the game in the world. I just when I watched her being so naive, I was trying to look for a hint of backstory from her. Like what is driving her to leave the shelter more than like, oh, the shelter just fell to ruin and now I have to leave and survive out here. Like I really like that there's like high stakes with leaving the shelter, but there's also incentive to leave the shelter, like great incentive to leave the shelter, to go on this epic adventure. I wonder how they're gonna do that. And I'm wondering like if they don't have that, and it is just like I'm thinking like I'm just gonna go out here and survive, get to know these other characters. They're gonna have a deeper backstory. Main character protagonist is more of just like kind of like Great Gatsby, like just a witness of Gatsby, right? Um, and maybe that will carry the show more so, and maybe the audience is okay with that because like we've have like shows like Game of Thrones and people love following and choosing their specific characters, and then like you said they just fall in love with the world. This goes with like the other high fantasy stuff like you said, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. But yeah, we'll just have to see at the end of the day, right?
what did you think of the Brotherhood of Steel?
Oh, I thought that was really sick. Especially the the costume, the armor, was so cool, dude. And I think in the behind the scenes video we were watching, they're mentioning that their head of I think products, setting, design, costumes. He wanted to make everything as real as possible and not have like the CGI. And I think the directors have that, they support that as well. So they're trying to fulfill that through in this show, which is really awesome. I like it when they actually have real what's the word I'm looking for? Products,
Props?
real
Props?
props. Thank you. Thank you. Started with a pay. Props. I love that. I think it's so cool, and it just makes a game, not a game, a movie or a TV show feel more tangible to the audience. Like I can actually touch what you are touching. I can tell, right? So I think that's really fun, and I'm excited to see more of the suits and hear more about the faction as a whole, and how they're furthering kind of the lore with that, and stories that happen inside that brotherhood. So I'm excited to see that. What did you think about the armor and having that other storyline thrown in there too?
Well, I have talked about this before, but I've dropped myself into the middle of the Brotherhood of Steel debates and lore in YouTube via my YouTube shorts. So I am very connected to the pulse of the fan base with that one. And I will say the fan base is very particular about the Brotherhood of Steel. Again, my blind spot is I haven't played Fallout 1 or Fallout 2 or Fallout Tactics yet. So I'm really, really curious to see how Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky dealt with them in the Bethesda world. They love the Brotherhood of Steel, and fans in my comments were saying, because my whole point was when you play Fallout 4, you're heavily incentivized to join the Brotherhood of Steel, because if you want freaking cool power armor, and you don't want to be like, think of it like almost like gang warfare. It's like if you don't want to be beefing with like the most powerful faction, like, and Fallout 4 is a difficult game to get, like, to grind and to farm and to get the right stuff. So like with all of these like dynamic quests happening, and you're getting the what are the helicopters? I know there's like the Pyridin is like the big airship, and then there's these helicopters. I forget what they're called, but they'll drop in, and like if you're with the Brotherhood of Steel, they'll help you fight. But if you're not, you'll get rocked. And so for me, I wanted to know if other fans felt that way. Like, did you guys feel like you were forced to join the Brotherhood? And then once you do join the Brotherhood, light spoilers if you haven't beat Fallout 4. So maybe like skip ahead or something. But if you do join the Brotherhood, let's just say they don't play nicely with others. So there's not that sense of maybe like other RPGs where you could kind of milk the factions for all they've got before you really start to make decisions. Like it's for whatever reason in Fallout 4, it feels heavily weighted. It's like you feel like you're making these choices and alienating yourself from other factions. And so I was just like curious, like, do other people feel that way? And in the shorts that I was posting, people were saying that yeah, like it's the box art, right? And like even I'm looking at the trailer right now, it's the cover, it's like the Brotherhood of Steel gets butts in seats, right? Like that is the main marketing of Fallout. Simultaneously, I don't know, and again, this is a huge blind spot for me and an incentive for me to play Fallout 1 and 2 and cover it, but in Fallout 4 particularly, the Brotherhood of Steel is very fascist. Like they will have beef with anything that isn't human. It doesn't matter. They want to like destroy ghouls. They want to destroy super mutants. They want to destroy synths. Doesn't matter if they show good or they want to work with it. It's like they're very fascist in Fallout 4. So that either makes for a really interesting, it's the stormtroopers at this point, right? It's the stormtrooperification of the Brotherhood of Steel. So how much can you do when you've designed this faction to be pretty much like evil, right? And the evil faction also becomes the face of the franchise. It could either create an opportunity for great storytelling, or it can kind of paint with too broad of a stroke to where it becomes less nuanced, right? And so you want those complex, rich faction motivations, not just complex character motivations. You want the factions to be complex as well, because if they're just like so clearly cut the bad guys, there's a little less interest there. Or it becomes very pulpy and sci-fi, with not those rich details that make you know, what they're doing with Hayden Christensen right now as Darth Vader is like, you want more of him. You're like, and I think that's a good thing. Like, I think we should love our bad guys as much as we love our good guys. But then sometimes you need to know when you need a purely evil villain, right? So can they make it so in the Brotherhood of Steel there's just an absolute terrible person that you love to watch on screen, like the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, or why am I forgetting the Heath Ledger, or even Luke Skywalker's act. Yeah, Jack Nicholson, but also Luke Skywalker, the actor. Why am I forgetting his name too?
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill's Joker, right? Like we want to.
I love Lord of the Rings, Star Wars,
and Batman. You're like naming all of them spot on. But
Matt never knows any names of any actor, and I'm like naming them all right now.
Exactly, but like, we need that, right? We need our Joker inside of the Brotherhood of Steel, but we also need our Anakin, right? So it's like we need all of that stuff for it to be rich. One thing that I think TV sometimes struggles with nowadays is figuring out when to turn those levers, like when to have a character be sympathetic, where we're like, oh, I totally understand why they're doing that. And
Right.
if you try to over justify the villain's motivation, sometimes it feels like you're forcing an annoying character onto us. It's like kind of the Walking Dead effect, where like they're like, oh, I don't know, I just killed all of them, and you're like, bro, you were a preacher. Like, come on, dude. Like the motivations are all over the place. And like, you could see how in the writer's room, maybe they're like, we're subverting and we're adding nuance. And it's like, no, you just have a character that nobody likes. And so like, in order to get those like iconic characters, it's a lot of that's dependent on the actor themselves, right? This is a visual medium.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're going to believe that there's complex, rich motivations, it needs to be cast in a way where we're bought in, or at least they could earn our trust really early on. So I think the big question mark is how fascist is the enemy going to be in this, the bad guy, right? How on the nose, how satirical, is it going to become so satirical, so subversive that they forget to hook us in emotionally? Like if we don't get hooked in emotionally and bought in, if it doesn't take itself seriously enough, then you risk the audience kind of judging it only by its comedic merits and not its merits of telling a great story. And so if the whole series is the butt of some joke, I don't think that's going to land. But if it's that there's moments of humor mixed in with the dark creepiness of it, then I think it'll land, right? So Brotherhood of Steel, to me, it all hinges on how they handle them.
I don't want a cheesy Halo knockoff, right? Like we're in the military, we're in the Brotherhood, and I'm gonna be the chosen one to save the day because I gotta get revenge, you know? Then it's just gonna be super corny, and then pile that on top of the already quirkiness and naive main character, where there's when a character's naive, like there's totally a bunch of funny things you can do to that character, right? So yeah, like you said, it could get all cheesy cornball kind of movie, but I think it looks cool. There was a lot of moments during the trailer where I'm like, hey, this looks fun, this looks cool, this looks interesting. I like the aesthetic. And my only concern again was I just want it to be taken seriously, like Last of Us, the TV show. I want people to laugh at it, have a good time, and still know where it comes from. This is a video game, so kind of have that kind of expectation with it, and just accept it for what it is. If it deserves the all the hype and all of the attention and love. So we'll see what happens. We'll see.
The Last of Us was so good that I think they really, I mean, we've been eating really good as fans of dystopian fiction, right? Like I mentioned it already, Silo, Severance, The Last of Us, like those shows have shown us how it's done when it comes to dramatic, but also where you're like so invested that when they do give you that dark comedy as a reprieve, you kind of like laugh like nervously. You're like, oh, everything's going to be okay, you know, but you have to earn that, right? You have to earn the stakes and the tension to where we're like same thing with Dune 2. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it has moments like that where there's a reprieve of emotion where you're like, I know the stakes are really high right now and I'm stressed, but that was a good line where I just relaxed for a second. You know, Lord of the Rings does it perfectly with Gimli and his comedic timing, you know? So it should like let the pressure out of the balloon, but just a little bit. Like you don't want a deflated emotional balloon. The balloon needs to be filled with tension.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Thinking about all this made me, and talking about even the Brotherhood, made me try to think back to the trailer. Did we see any other factions appear in the trailer, or was it just them?
Let me see real quick. I don't remember. So the one that Bethesda haven't used very much since Fallout 3 is the Enclave. And a lot of people in the comments have said that they want the Enclave. They wish the Enclave was more available in Fallout 4. If you know me, when I play a game for the first time, I'm pure gameplay. I'm like, I'll read that note later. Right. I'll listen to that thing later. And I just kind of like intuitively do what I want to do. And then when I play a second time, I go back and I'm like, all right, I'm going to read the notes. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to like really digest this. And I haven't been able to digest the Enclave, but I agree that that juxtaposition, like being in the Enclave's base in Fallout 3 was really, really cool. It's just another armor set, like a similar but different armor set, like having to, like, if you're not paying attention, like I was the first time I played Fallout 3 for real, you like have to pause for a second before you agree to something. You're like, wait, hold on, what am I doing? What are you convincing me to do right now? Like, is this gonna piss off the Brotherhood? Or like, wait, which one of you guys is the worst one or the better option? Like, that's a good thing when RPGs, even when you're just trying to have fun, all of a sudden hook you into the story and you're like, whoa. I need some context here. Wait, what am I about to do? Like, you've woken me up from my like just vegging out and having fun, and now I need to know the choice you're about to ask me to make. Fallout New Vegas does that really well, where all of a sudden you're like talking to a character, having like a full-on debate, and you're like trying to charisma check your way out of something, and then you're like, actually maybe I could get you to not take out that person, and maybe I could actually get you to give me your axe, and then maybe like you'll not only give me your axe, but like somehow I'll trick you into being my friend, and then I'll have you fight the even stronger guy for me. Like, that kind of component only works if you have other factions to leverage. So I think that's a great question of like, yeah, are they going to do stuff with the Enclave or the Railroad? I kind of hope they don't do the Railroad from Fallout 4. I didn't think their stakes felt believable, that like the Railroad just wanted to save all synths. Some of these look like factory robots. Like these robots just got off the factory line. Like, that's practically a vacuum you're saving. Like, you're dying for a vacuum. Like,
I remember being totally horrified. I think it was New Vegas, of the Legion and like the whole return of the Roman Empire, you know? And I thought, that's crazy that like after nukes and the world reset, the Roman Empire survived, you know? Like, so if I saw any sort of Easter eggs or tie to that in the show, that would be really cool. Or even to like come across like this battalion of Legion, and you're like, what's happening?
People would love that, but I don't know how Bethesda would deal with that. I feel like there's a secret handshake that Bethesda doesn't touch the West Coast. But then again, the show goes into the West Coast. I'm pretty sure the show is based in LA. So the show is kind of the first time they've crossed into Obsidian territory, because Obsidian is based in Southern California. They're like very close to you and I. And Bethesda's in Maryland. And when Obsidian's team members had the IP, before they were Obsidian, they were focused on the West Coast. And when Josh Sawyer got to return to Fallout New Vegas, he was given the West Coast. And the rule was like, you guys stay in the West Coast, we'll be in the East Coast. But now this is Bethesda basically showing us what's happening in their West Coast. So I think they should, and I would be really pleasantly surprised if they incorporated Fallout New Vegas components. But to me, that would feel like they're maybe stepping on toes of Josh Sawyer and Tim Kaine. Like, I don't think Timothy Kaine would care as much, because he's kind of retired. But I wonder how Bethesda, creative people want to respect other creative people's visions, right? So it's like, it would kind of be like if Obsidian got to make an Elder Scrolls game, which they did pitch for, if they were like, all right, it's going to be in Skyrim. It would be like, I feel like Bethesda's kind of nailed Skyrim. there's got to be a different area that you could explore, you know? So it's like, that would kind of be, if they showed New Vegas without the Obsidian guys throwing in their 2 cents, I think that would, that might, as a creative person, feel a little bit like, ooh, maybe we're not the most, maybe it'd be more fair if we had them throw in their 2 cents, but I could be wrong. And
I always forget that they're not like Disney and Pixar, like working hand in hand with this, with the lore and everything. I always forget that because I always just, you know, as a kid, you just see Fallout and go, it's Fallout, right? I love Fallout 3. I'm going to play Fallout New Vegas. Oh, they're both so great. Now I feel like my lore is building of the Fallout universe. And like to hear this, you're like, like that. It takes a little bit away from that kind of world building I did as a child, you know. But I mean, again, if the show is good, if they do introduce like some other like conflict between the Brotherhood and another faction, I'm gonna like that. I want to see the main character have to choose sides. I want to see consequences to choosing the side that they choose. Maybe even flip sides, flip a couple times. Do it well though, you know. Like it would be fun to have some of those gameplay mechanics that we take for granted in Fallout flipped into a story, you know, that's actually equally fun to watch on TV. So how can you bring some core Fallout mechanics and play styles and input that into this narrative? That would be cool.
Yeah. There's a lot to manage. It's a massive IP, right? So it's like, not only does Bethesda have to get their grips on the lore, and I can't imagine being Todd Howard. Like, you have your hands in Starfield getting ready to launch the DLC. There's an expectation that you have a Fallout 4 next gen update supposed to come at some point. You're got your hands in Indiana Jones. And now you're like, your brain has to like go into the show and like steer the lore of the show. So
this is why they were calling him God Howard, you know?
Yeah, right. So that's a lot to have on your shoulders. That's a lot of pressure. And then like being like, can you imagine like going to bed at night and being like waking up in the middle of the night, going to the bathroom? You know, that's when I really have the most midlife crises, is when I'm like in the middle of the night going to the bathroom and I'm like, who am I? What am I doing? Like, imagine being like peeing at like 4 a.m. and be like, when is the next Fallout going to come out and the next Elder Scrolls? And am I going to fix Starfield? Like, imagine having that weight on your shoulders, like as you're just peeing and then going back to bed. Like, I bet you he has dreams where he's developing Elder Scrolls 6, right? And then Fallout 5, and then Starfield 2 or whatever. Like that's just how creative brains work. It's like, we're always thinking about these things subconsciously. There's always this pressure on our shoulders. And my pressure is like, I need people to tune into the Yeti Den or to check out Ildefonso Inc. His pressure is creating something that matches the expectations of Fallout New Vegas, of Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and also like going toe-to-toe against like Cyberpunk with Starfield, and then also going toe-to-toe with like Uncharted with Indiana Jones, and then also going toe-to-toe with Elder Scrolls. Like, how do you build on top of Skyrim? How do you make a better Skyrim? It's like the best, you know? So like, how do you beat the best? That's a lot of pressure. And like, he inspires me in that way, that he always gives off this calm and collected nature that reminds me that we're all human. It's like, we're all human, right? If Todd can handle his business, we can handle our business.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so
I really hope it's good. I'll be a huge just even confidence booster in the IP for Todd and the rest of everyone, all the developers working on the next game. I know that even with the acquisition of Bethesda and things changing, I do think there's a lot of people who still work there that are truly passionate about the IPs that Todd's built over the years, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and it seems like people really love Starfield too. So I really hope that this does well and the IPs do better and they get more funding and able to really make these next games really stand out and kind of just be game breaking for the industry again, like the previous titles were. Um, it's it's so fun when a big sandboxy game like a Bethesda game does very well. It really puts power in the player's hand to make decisions for their play experience. And that's what they've always done really well. So if they can take that to our next gaming generation, take it to the next level, that's what I want. So I hope it does well. I hope they get the more money and resources they need to make those games really good. So that's my
Yeah.
thoughts about that.
Yeah, before we move on, what do you think of Jonathan Nolan? Are you a Westworld fan? Like, did you watch that show?
Hmm. Yeah, good question. I really liked the first season and the second season of Westworld. But spoilers. So if you guys want to watch Westworld, I'm about to drop a season 2 spoiler. Um, all right, either you're gone. Okay, everyone's here, seen it. All right. I really, really, really like the Westworld story when they're inside of Westworld. But when they break
Mm.
out and start getting into
Mm-hmm.
this dystopian, this kind of meta morals game, um, you lost me. I was a lot more
Mm.
interested in this. What if there was a Westworld? And what
Mm-hmm.
is this
Mm-hmm.
Westworld? There's so much lore behind it, how it was made. I think they could have went even deeper with it. They could have went had even more worlds. And I think it was a missed. It was a way they were trying to wrap it up the show, um, instead of just letting it be like a cliffhanger. I feel for me. I don't know. I really did like the first two seasons, and I just stopped after that. So if they kind of keep that whole mystery thrill, but then with a little bit of that humor mixed in there into and carry that over into Fallout, that's gonna be really cool. And the look of Westworld was really cool and believable. So if they can add that believability to the Fallout world, I'm going to really like what they do with that. Now, if they start going, the show's not doing too well, people aren't watching it, we're going to wrap it up in some goofy way, that's going to be very disappointing. So I don't know what they're going to do with that at the end of the day, but I'm not turned off by them being the producers. I'm not completely turned off because I've had great experiences watching Westworld, and I really did like that show when that first came out, and I binge watched it. So if they can do that again, I like that. What about you?
Yeah, I so this is another like one of those, you're going pee in the middle of the night revelations when you think about like, oh, this is how I should have described it to Matt. I had one of these after we filmed. It was like, okay, I don't remember what game we were talking about, but this is my mindset. There's yes and there's yes but concepts. So the yes and concepts for me are it's Batman Beyond. So that means it's OG Batman and a young Batman, and it's like a gothic cyberpunk world. It's like cool. Okay, but yes, but would be it's what would be a great yes but concept? Yes, but is like kind of what you said with Westworld. We're in a Western world with robots, but there's a futuristic world happening at the same time. And that to me is what Assassin's Creed does that loses a lot of players. We're going to make a sick Viking world, but you're going to get unplugged and go into a tech office for a little bit in Silicon Valley. And apologies to Assassin's Creed's fan. I know that's not what it is, but that's kind of how I perceive it. Because I started with Black Flag. I had no idea about that part. I was just living. I was like, dude, I'm role playing as Jax from Sons of Anarchy, that actor, or Heath Ledger, but I'm a pirate, and this is so cool. And so it's like you're a sick, handsome looking pirate, and you're in this pirate world, and then they hit you with the but in like I don't remember when, but maybe it's like Act 2 or something. It's like, but we're gonna jack you into a new world. And so that's kind of like it's all in how you present that and how bought in people are. So with like Inception, it does that no of like, yes, but except in the trailer, you know that the whole concept is based on dreams. So it's more of a yes and. It's like, yes, it's a dream world, and it looks very visually like clear and cohesive. So, you know, that would be like, you know, whenever there's a god character above the fantastical world, where you start to, your brain aesthetically struggles to live in those two worlds. The Matrix 1 does it perfectly, but then Matrix 2 starts to lose people, Matrix 3 starts to lose people, and Matrix 4, all at the end, it's just yes, but. It's like yes, it's the Matrix, but it's modern and it's social media and it's even more meta, and we're losing the allure of the leather suits and the action and the loving the specificness of the worlds. And the more broad you get, and the more they were asleep the whole time, or they were this, there was a whole nother world that you didn't even know about. It's like that loses audience often. And some people like those.
What's the yes and for you for Fallout? What do you want the yes and to be?
Okay, I would say Fallout is dark and gritty, and it has a little bit of hope. Like, so it's dark and gritty and a little bit of hope. Not completely nihilistic. I think when it goes too, I think when dystopian universes go too nihilistic, the audience goes, well, then what am I here for? Like, I'm here for Frodo to toss that ring into Mordor. Like, so you can string me along with Nazgul and with the Barrows Down, and you could make me laugh with Tom Bombadil, but if you don't toss that ring into Mordor, you're gonna lose me, you know. And so, for me with Fallout, the character needs to get out of the vault, right? And they need to take on the bad guy. And so my thing is like, it's gotta be atmospheric. Like, I gotta love the world. And there's 2 DLCs that do this really well. One I've played, one I haven't. Far Harbor is what people talk about for Fallout 4. And for Fallout 3, it is Point Lookout. And so Point Lookout, you're dropped into this like Coney Island pier. It's all misty. There's like these weird, kind of offensive villagers that are like, kind of like, a little, I think they got in trouble for it because they're making fun of like Southern people in a very offensive way. But they're creepy. And that's my thing. It's like, I need to be creeped out. BioShock does this so well. And that's a yes, but the but stays inside the world, right? Like, so if you haven't played BioShock, we'll not spoil it, but BioShock is a very conceptually rich story. And when they go, but you're still in the BioShock world. You're not like, but here's a completely different universe with different sets of rules and different characters. I feel like it stays true to its initial art concept world, right? So yes, but would be, I mean, Like if we felt like it was giving us Fallout for a little bit, and then all of a sudden it tonally shifts into something that's not Fallout, and we're just like, ooh, you pulled me out of it. You know, I can't buy this
where
anymore.
It's like, yes, the world is cool, but the dialogue choices and character choices is making the cast look really silly, and I can't take this serious moment seriously. So it's like, it needs to be. I want a yes, this is Fallout, and this cast really sells this universe in an entertaining way.
Totally. Right? Yeah, that's exactly it. The other one that I was thinking about, it's called like Kingmaker. Have you seen the trailer for Kingmaker? It's a video game where you're in like a truck and you're like mowing down medieval soldiers. It's like, okay,
yes. So I watched Asmongold play, or not play, watch that.
Yeah, that's yes, but so it's like, yes, medieval RTS, but you're going back in time to do that. So from a marketing standpoint, it would be really, really bad if they didn't tell you the part where you're going back in time with real weapons, right? Same thing with Power World. If they didn't show you that there's this like satirical overtone of you like making the Pokemons your slaves and you have guns and you're, you know, blah, 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 blah. So yes, but storytelling and concepts, you need to sell that early. So that way those who love that subversion and that extra component that you're mixing into the stew, you're like here's a traditional soup, but I'm about to put sriracha. You got to tell people that you have sriracha. That has to be the reason why they went to go get your soup. If they don't know about the sriracha, then you risk them being like, whoa, that's not what I wanted. You know, so if they have any of those up in their sleeves, they need to make sure that they're showing us how funny it's going to get, how weird it's going to get, how dark it's going to get, and that we don't watch it and feel tricked. Like, oh, you're making us, this is a pure comedy with a little bit of action. You know, that's where I think it gets risky with audiences. So
we'll see. I really think what you were saying about the Brotherhood too, like that could really hit or miss the whole TV show, like how that is going to be portrayed and how that's going to affect the overarching storyline. I wasn't worried about it when I watched the trailer, but now you've got me thinking that it could be Halo, the TV show, all over again. Like really weird.
Another one I want to throw out there. Andor to me is the perfect yes and. It's Star Wars and it has high stakes. I gotta
watch that.
Okay,
I gotta watch that because I like high stakes.
You like that, it's Star Wars with high stakes, because the best illustration, and Austin Wintory mentioned this, and since I heard that, I was like, oh, that's the perfect way to sell Andor. When a TIE fighter flies overhead, you feel like it's the most dangerous thing you've ever seen on screen in Star Wars. So rather than we have 40 TIE fighters, there's one TIE fighter and it flies overhead. And when you finally see it, you're reminded that you're in the Star Wars universe and you feel that is
so anime.
You're on the ground with all of these. Sick. You're like, oh, how am I going to survive that? Yeah. There's a TIE fighter, you know?
Yes.
That's not a yes.
I love that.
Yeah, that's not a yes, but that's a yes and. Like, it's Star Wars and you're going to feel it. Like, it's for adults and you're going to see the Star Wars components like you've never seen them before. It's going to elevate the experience that you already are bought into. We don't need to say but. There's really no but here. It's like, it's just Star Wars. And you're going to feel when stuff happens. You don't really have to prime people for the subversion, right? Like, you're not like, you're going to know what's going on, but I think that you're building on top of the fans' love of the franchise. you're not pulling one over them. You're just showing them how this could feel with higher stakes and richer world building and all that. So I'm excited. We'll watch it. I think we should watch and probably incorporate the show into our podcast, because I think with this channel being really dedicated to Fallout, I think it'll be a good thing to cover
with
together.
The whole yes and you got me singing Ariana Grande's Yes and in my head right now.
I need to listen to that song. I'm so behind. The last Ariana
we said
era
it so
for
many
me was...
times. They're probably going to find us. The whole fan base is gonna find our podcast now because we said yes and like 50 times.
I would have to listen to this song. The last one I know by Ariana Grande is "Thank You Next," and how that was like 5 years ago.
It's like college, dude. Like I remember really liking her back in college, and I hadn't really listened to her. And then Caitlin recently just played her new song "Yes and so don't worry, don't feel bad. Go check it out though.
So I feel like we're already an hour in. Let's move on to Dragon's Dogma 2 character creator. Who are some characters? Like if you're gonna role play Dragon's Dogma 2, what is your philosophy when it comes to character creators? Because this is an extremely powerful character creator, and I thought the first character creator was good. I sent you my Gandalf that I made. I was role playing as Gandalf. And I've been inspired by you because your cyberpunk character had long hair. He was giving wizard vibes, giving Jason Momoa vibes. I was also inspired by my friend Daniel, who role plays as Hot Gandalf in one of our D&D campaigns from like 2020. It's like I had found all these concept arts on Pinterest of like what Hot Gandalf looks like a little like muscular and young. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure kind of has a Hot Gandalf in it. So who are you character creating if you're find yourself with Dragon Dogmas 2 beautiful character creator?
I love this question. I love building characters. So fun fact about me. I think I've already told you, Spencer, is like ever since I was like at least in high school, I've always fantasized and even worked on writing my own fantasy story. And so as you write a fantasy story, you're writing a lot of characters and you're writing a ton of backstory for these characters that you might not even get to. But anyways, some characters that I'm very inspired by and I make characters out of, like kind of like archetypes. One would be Guts from Berserk, the anime. I don't know if you've seen that. I need to watch anime,
Berserk. I've only started it. I need to watch that.
Okay, so Guts is like short hair, big Arnold Schwarzenegger type, big sword, right? And so I like making that sort of character. And then I, of course, love the Gandalf look as well. I think that's a classic. But another one that really pops out to me is a Sephiroth kind of character. So like white hair, samurai inspired, is calm, cool, collected, but definitely has a darkness inside them that maybe they don't even know yet, and it's gonna come out eventually. So I really like those three, like a Gandalf, a Sephiroth, and a Berserk when I make a character. I've only recently been exploring with other builds, especially with Baldur's Gate. So like in Baldur's Gate, I'm really into like this kind of fire dwarf kind of character. I would have to I made him when I send you my footage of Baldur's Gate. It kind of this like red purplish hair, kind of like Sabine from Star Wars. Just fiery hair and a fiery beard. Dark ashen skin, and that's really cool too. So I'm playing with that, and I know when I was young, I was very basic. I just liked role playing as I think like Fire Emblem prince archetypes. So like that Japanese protagonist, boy hero, like I really liked that when I was young. But yeah, I'm gonna stand firm on now when I make characters, it's Guts, Gandalf, and Sephiroth are my three favorites to be inspired by. What about you, or who are you inspired by
Yeah.
from movies or TV shows or
Yeah.
games?
Well, what little I've played with uh Final Fantasy VII, I think Tifa is a badass. I think Jill from Resident Evil. Yeah, it's Resident Evil 1 remake. Jill Valentine. I think Jill Valentine in the Resident Evil 1 remake has a sick look. I love the idea of like a lot of people didn't like the remake of Lara Croft, but I loved that iteration of her in both the movie and in the games. Like the more recent Lara Croft, I've really thought was a
Yeah,
cool
I like
design.
her too. There's nothing wrong with her. Good.
Yeah, it's I guess for me, I have to be in the mood for a power fantasy Lara Croft or a power fantasy, protagonist. For me, I love the idea of a character whose face is naturally Frodo-like, like they kind of rest into this like good, but also there's a little bit of a darkness inside. So like a female Frodo, I think is a vibe that I always try to go for, where it's like I want my character to look believable when they're making a good natured sacrifice for humanity. But I also like for you to believe that they're gonna like have some dark moments when the ring when they're by themselves. It's like oh, I'm gonna slip on this little temptation ring and I don't care. I'm gonna be messy for a second and let Lord Sauron send Nazguls to our direction just because I'm feeling a little like chaotic right now. That's kind of what I like for my characters is like if they're like very protagonisty, I want you to believe that they're gonna mess up. So I would say that's kind of like another like Sally. Is that her name from Nightmare Before Christmas? Like that
Yes.
sadness or like Corpse Bride. I really like that. Or that to me is like a Winona Ryder kind of vibe, or even like a Johnny Depp kind of vibe. So I like that vibe. I'm with you. I love the classic 1970s wizard, Lord of the Rings kind of aesthetic. I'm really liking who I call Timothy Pinocchio Chalamet in Lies of P. Like it's basically Timothy Chalamet, and I've really enjoyed having this boy prince, kind of like your Fire Emblem boy prince. It's like this regal looking, perfect hair boy prince who's got blood and oil all over him from killing puppets and whatever.
So
and
anime,
humans.
by the way.
Yeah,
like, that's its
Captain
own
Levi.
vibe,
Captain Levi.
Exactly. I get
so I love
that anime
look.
fix with Sephiroth. Like for me, like Sephiroth is like my anime bad boy samurai kind of feel. Yeah, I like that, dude.
I also have this character that's kind of inspired by like it could be Lenny Kravitz or Zoe Kravitz, but like characters who could rock like really cool hairstyles or even pull off like the Furiosa like bald or I want to say, is it Alien? What there's a character that I really like from film that's bald, or has a shaved head. Like if the character can pull off a shaved head, that's another character thing that I always make sure I try out the shaved head.
Gears of War. I mean, not Gears of War. God of War. Well, I guess Gears of War is a shaved head. Yeah. God of War, though, is what I was thinking of. Kratos.
Yeah.
Pulls it off.
Yeah, like if the character could look good with a shaved head, that's a vibe for me. So yeah, those are some of my classic archetypes. For Fallout, I love a good 50s hairdo on the woman, like the kind of like classic big hair mixed with like all black.
Do you ever make
armor?
Silly looking characters?
I no, because I'm like like I said, all of my favorite filmmakers, they like I love Spawn. Spawn has some silly looking, but everyone always is yesified in some way. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a great example. It's like I kind of always like to find a way, whether it's like a vibrant color pop or like it's an expensive fabric. I always want my characters to look like a 10 out of 10, even if they're goofy. Like, even if it's silly. Like, that's why for me, Robert Pattinson is my Batman. Just because it's like the eye makeup and the chaoticness of that character being like kind of moody and listening to Nirvana. Like, that's my vibe, you know? So even if it doesn't matter what shape the villain is, I gotta believe that they have swag. You know, there's the Spider-Man. What's the character from Daredevil with the ring? He has a ring and a cane. And he's bald. And Vincent
Kingpin
on and off. Yeah, there's a Kingpin that I have an action figure. And he's just like, he's huge, and he has like a white coat that's like, and he has a big shiny diamond. Like, I love that swag. You know, that's my big thing. So I think for that, as long as the character has some element of swag, I'm all in, you know?
Yeah.
Lizard, I think Lizard has swag.
There's some players that all they do is make goofy looking characters when they play a game. Like when I think of someone, I think of Charlie from Moist Critical. He like always makes his character look as goofy as possible, and it's fun, and I love it. But for some reason, on a first playthrough of a game, I can't bring myself to like make my character funny to look at and entertain myself that way. And I always have to like love my character, make him a 10 out of 10, totally fitting the vibe of what I think the game is going to be and setting. But I do like when I replay a game a lot, like for example, I kept on replaying Elden Ring, making new accounts, characters. And I found myself making more weird off creatures. Like, I'm gonna have to screenshot some of them and send them to you. They're really weird looking and fun to play with. I made one called Crowman, where I elongated everything to like fit into a point. And then I like made the eyes scrunch down, like everything into this point. Dark black skin, right? So that whole thing became a beak. And then I gave him like the hair that just shoots back, and it's just all covered back. So it literally looks like a crow's head and like a body, like a suit of armor, running around killing things.
Oh,
and I call him
God.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to send you this.
You're making eldritch horrors. Like I want to play in your universe, but I'm gonna be like, I love those terrifying creatures, and I have to remind myself that sometimes an RPG is begging for that. Like Morrowind, I was playing with my friend Nate, and he set me up with an elf character that looks truly horrific, but he's like, this character is going to be the best stats. And then after a while, you get used to it, and you start to feel an attachment to that character because you're playing as them. And it's like, look, he's not hot enough to my standards, but he gets the job done, and I appreciate that he's out here doing the work for me.
I love that, dude. Yeah, so I think there's a setting where we enjoy it, but we're definitely the type who first playthrough all the way, like we want to really think our characters are cool, you know, a little bit of that cool fantasy trip. Yeah, you got to look good in a fine garment if I'm role playing the first time, for sure. Yes.
So yeah, I love when you could style out your character and just have them looking so good. But let's transition into the games we've been playing. So for those of you who haven't tuned in yet, Matt's been playing Final Fantasy Rebirth, right? And you mentioned that last time. How's it holding up so far?
It's really good. It's really long also. I feel like I haven't played a game this long in a while. Maybe, I don't know.
Do you feel like you're being held hostage?
Well, I feel like it's just the way I just came off from playing the first one, right? Final Fantasy Remake. And how that game works is it's very linear, and they only give you a small time frame to do all the side quests and extra stuff before they move on to the next chapter. And so I kind of carried that mindset with me into Rebirth, which I don't know if I recommend still. I carry that mindset of like when I go to a new open area, a new open map, I'm going to do all of the side missions, all of the side quests, all of the side mini games, unlock all the treasures before I moved on with the story in the next open world map they give me. And so it's been taking me a while to get through the story. I'm only 52% through, so like halfway. But I think I've played about 50 hours of this game. So um, yeah, it's taking a while. So I'm thinking like if I were to do it again, I wouldn't have gone super ham on and stubborn with completing all of the side quests. I would have done a couple and moved on, and then even like I go, you know what? I need to level up more. I'm gonna go back and do some more side quests from old areas. Because I haven't even gone back to you. I can go back to previous areas. I haven't even gone back, dude. I'm still just in. I unlock everything there. I move on, and I unlock everything in this new area, and I'm pushing forward, and I'm like trying to grind so I can get to that next story beat. But I'm noticing like I'm getting a little bit tired because I want the next story beat. So I might switch it up with how I'm playing now, just so I can finish the game. Because I am famous for getting really far into a game and then just stopping. So I'm gonna force myself to push through and finish it. So hopefully I can get that done in the next couple weeks. But it's a long game. I'm not gonna give myself too much pressure with it anymore. But I've been having a lot of fun. It's better than the first one by far, and it is definitely one of the best Final Fantasy games in the last 10 years. I think I like it more than Final Fantasy, what is it, 15, which I did like. I think they just finally mastered the whole action RPG combat loop without being so weird to a Western player. I feel like my game literacy from Western games is now like cooperating with JRPGs in a weird way. So that's kind of fun and cool. Yeah, I really like this game. And I definitely recommend it to people who want to play it. Don't feel the need or be too stubborn about trying to do everything in one location, one open map area first. This game is open world, so you're going to have plenty of opportunities to go back to previous maps, locations, and do all the extra stuff and explore. That's what I will say about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Yeah, if you guys are having fun with it, I want to see what you guys are doing. Leave some comments, and I'll love to talk to you guys. What about you, Spencer?
I love that.
You've been playing Liza P.
Yeah, Liza P is such a satisfying blend of like what feels like a Sony AAA character action RPG and a Souls-like. It's like, you know, when someone finally makes a dish for you you've been trying to get into, and you're like, I want to like ramen, or I want to like, you know, just classic beans and rice, but it takes like that one more. You see my dog just walk in.
I love your dog.
That's so crazy. But yeah, it's like she knows how to open the screen door, so like Mo let her out the other way, and she's like, I'm gonna go drink some water. I don't care if Spencer's recording a podcast. I'm gonna get the water from that room. But like it feels like Sony. It feels like the appeal of like a Sony game, but through the genre of a Souls-like, and it's very accessible. It's got the right amount of flavors. I remember like when I first didn't like guacamole, and then one day someone put a little bit of lemon. I was like, okay, I can buy into this. Or recently, Mo's been nailing like tomato sauce with pasta, and I've always been kind of weird about just like raw tomatoes in a sauce. But now it's like, ooh, I'm getting bought in. That's how I feel with Lies of P. It's like I'm slowly seeing how this is the most flavorful version of it, so it'll allow you to go deeper into the more difficult, more challenging, even darker, even grittier games. I don't feel like I'm getting dropped into the deep end with this one. This is like warms you up into the shallow, and it tutorializes how to play a Souls-like. It really explains to someone like me, oh, dying is good. Farm, go backwards, farm a little bit. It's almost like a 2D Metroidvania, like Dead Cells in a way, where it's like go backwards and get more currencies to keep leveling up your character. And if you die, you're gonna keep your weapons, you're gonna keep your currency as long as you spend it. Like if you die with all your currency, you have to go back and get it. But like if you go, okay, I'm about to face a boss, I'm gonna level up 4 times like before I go try again. And I'm going to spend all my currency, and then I'm going to go do that. And I get to keep that you're not save scumming. You're like dying, going back to the portal, trying again, but you're better than you were. And that component never clicked for me. So now that clicks, I'm having a lot of fun. Last night, it was funny. I was like trying to figure out this area in a map. It's like one of the first times I got lost. And I was like, Mo, can you just like tell me what happens on YouTube, but like give me hints so I don't have to watch a walkthrough. And so she's like, yeah, he's in a totally different area. So I was like looking around. I was like, wait, how did he get there? And she's like, go up the stairs. And like went up the stairs. Like, oh my God, this is exactly where I was supposed to go. I'm so glad you were watching me, because this would have taken 2 hours of my time, like just missing the staircase. So I'm like 11 hours in, and that's the first time I got lost. So I love that. I love when the traversal is really intuitive and you don't get lost. The story is intriguing. The characters are intriguing. The enemy design is so interesting. It's the perfect blend of like dark and creepy and kind of cute and cozy, like a Tim Burton film. If you like Bloodborne, if you like Elden Ring, and if you like maybe like Ghost of Tsushima, this game is absolutely for you.
I'm gonna have Ghost of Tsushima. I gotta try it.
It's just very like accessible. It's very accessible, and you feel rewarded for playing. So yeah, that's
the look
Lies
of
of
it
P.
and the atmosphere. How's the music with it too? Is it really fitting?
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the world building and the lore aspect are interesting to me. I really like. We were talking about how it's really like a dark fairy tale, and like a Souls version of a fairy tale in a way.
Yeah,
and that does sound interesting. I don't know why I didn't pick it up last year. I must have been just so focused on Baldur's Gate. Maybe I need to try it out though. You've kind of sold me on at least having it on my radar to think about it.
Yeah, no, it's so good. So tell me about what's been clicking with Return to Moria.
So I was telling you guys last week that Return to Moria is fun. I've been having a fun time playing with my friend, and we were just exploring, and it felt, I'm not gonna lie, it kind of felt slow at first. Like, how do I craft things? How do I upgrade my character? Where am I supposed to go? Am I in the right room or not the right room? Right? Am I mining the right stuff? And then also like with survival games, you have to like even sort of build up this like literacy, in-game literacy of like, once I make this ore, I can make this iron ignot, and then these iron can make this thing, that this thing can then make that, and then that can make that, and you like start mapping out all these trains of building and crafting in your head. And so I finally have done that. I finally have like explored the mechanics of the game long enough. I've explored the mines deep enough so that I can unlock new ores and new furnaces and forges, so I can craft better gear and dive deeper into the mine. And I've been doing this out all by myself. I've been soloing this thing. I've been Gimli soloing the mines, dude. And what ended up making me fall in love with it is actually playing Kingdom before this game. And what I like about Kingdom, and you like too, is that you build a sick camp, a sick base, you defend it, and then you keep upgrading. And that's exactly what you do in Return to Moria, except you're a dwarf. So you're diving deeper into the mines. You set up a small camp and you're like defending it, right? And then you slowly build it up and then defend it from more hordes, and then you push a little further, set up a new camp, same thing. And so with how the mines change the deeper you go, it's really rewarding, that sense of exploring, set up base, fight, upgrade your weapons so that you can do like shock damage or more damage against orcs. Yeah, it's getting fun. So if you end up liking games like Kingdom, building a base, upgrading a base, defending it, uh, building more onto it, this game's like that, except you're diving deeper into Moria as a dwarf. So still very heavy if you like the Lord of the Rings IP. It's great incentive to play the game. Makes it even better. But now I'm starting to feel like this game's just fun for anyone who's into that kind of gameplay. And it's so for $40, like it's definitely worth the purchase. Is especially if you like Lord of the Rings. Are there other games that do what Return to Moria does? Yes, there are other games that do what Return to Moria does. So I think when it comes to picking out these survival games, you kind of just gotta watch the trailer and see what kind of atmosphere and world you're going to most enjoy best and want to spend time in. Because you're going to spend a lot of time in it, just like Kingdom. You're going to sink a lot of hours just building a base, you know? And so my best recommendation is find that setting that you want to be in, because they're all pretty much do the same mechanically. For me, I feel like I finally found my Minecraft sweet spot, cozy mixture with the thrill of defending and hordes, battling hordes. I feel like I found my personal sweet spot because I'm a diehard Lord of the Rings fan. But yeah, you guys should check it out. I know, Spencer, you said you'll pick it up if it goes on like extreme sale on PC or something.
It's not on Steam. I was Googling.
Oh, what is it? What is? Do you just get it off of? What's the other? Is it on the other one?
Epic.
It's on Epic Games.
It's on Yeah. So
okay.
I wonder if it's an exclusive, maybe like a timed exclusive. So I'll keep an eye out. Because yeah, I would love to play it with you. Like, does it have crossplay? Do we know that yet? If it has crossplay between, I could also see this coming to Game Pass. So I wonder if we could play together from like eventually when it comes to Game Pass, or because maybe it needs to be ported over. If it goes
on sale, I would buy it again wherever you have it. I actually didn't buy it; my friend bought it for me. So I'm definitely willing to get it on sale somewhere. But I'm like a little bit in that same boat of like, I have some friends who have Baldur's Gate on PlayStation and some have it on PC. You know, I haven't bought it on PlayStation, but I have it on PC. So yeah, this is one of those games where like I'm enjoying it so much on my own for this style of game where it's even more fun with friends. Where I would definitely get it just to have some more games that I can play with my friends instead of just being mostly a solo gamer, right? So I really like this game. I know it's gotten some heat for, being a Lord of the Rings game that's not as good as the nostalgia of playing, Return of the King on your GameCube or PlayStation back in the day when the movies came out. Like everyone who loves Lord of the Ring games, like they always look back at Return of the King or even Two Towers from 2001 and 2 or whatever, and say like those are the best Lord of the Rings games. We need more of those RPGs, and that's true. I really need a Lord of the Rings legacy, like Hogwarts legacy, but Lord of the Rings. I need that game. Don't get me wrong, but like I don't want to beat up on Return to Moria because they're not doing that. Like this is literally just like a survival exploration adventure game, and it does well for what it is, and it's not a Golem game like last year. Golem I heard sucked, and I don't know if I'll ever play that game. But this game's not Golem. I know that game makes you want to think that this game sucks because Golem sucked, but I like this. I'm gonna be one of the guys that defends Return to Moria.
Hey, we need that because I want the devs to support it because I want time to get in. Like I want it to come to Game Pass. I know it's coming to Xbox. They say coming to Xbox soon. I'm the type of person like the first time I try a game, I'm looking for a low threshold of barrier. But then once you got me in, I'll buy it like 4 times. It's like I'd much rather support devs by owning the game that I love on multiple consoles than like taking a swing and missing and being like, oh, I could have deployed those resources towards a game that I know I was gonna love.
Yeah.
So for me, this is kind of like, oh, is this like the next Vampire Survivors, Dredge? I always have a game like this I'm always working on at night. It's like, oh, I'm really tired. My brain is tired, but I want to play a game before I go to bed. I'm going to continue Dredge, or I'm going to continue Vampire Survivors, Atomicrops, Kingdom. That is kind of what I'm starting to think to myself. Because the way you described that is exactly what I would have hoped it would have been. And when you bring out Kingdom reference, that's you're bringing out some tasty wares.
I'm not lying
too,
dude. I'm not just hyping it up because I like Lord of the Rings. I was literally thinking like, oh man, it's okay. I've been having fun with friends playing this, but if I know I really like a game when I even can play it by myself, I'm gonna try playing by myself. Made a new character, and I just because I played it already, I knew what to do in the beginning where you're grinding very slowly. And I just jammed through that really quickly. And I got to even new places and I unlocked new things and the gameplay got easier and quicker. And then I started defending my base and the hordes were coming and then they would break it and then I would rebuild it and I'm going to build now a wall, like it gets really fun. I got that Kingdom vibe that I got when I played that for the first time. So I hope I'm not hyping. I probably am hyping it up too much, but like I really do get that same Kingdom feel with this game, and reward for when I'm picking up when I'm collecting everything. You know how sometimes in a game you feel like you're just like picking everything up and you don't really need it all. Like I don't feel that way in this game. I'm picking up everything that I need, and I'm even wishing I had a bigger backpack, and I'm already thinking of things to do as I'm picking up items to help with my crafting. Anyways, I feel like I could probably do a whole video about Return to Moria.
You got to.
Maybe I should.
It has to be the return of Jumbie with Return to Moria. Come on, do what I do. Do like a 5-minute voiceover with gameplay and like just share us your thoughts on the. I want to watch that.
I really should. I need to make a new series outside of Game Boys and Pokemon. So maybe I can do something with Lord of the Rings because I really do love Lord of the Rings, and I've already explained that on my channel through shorts and even one of my tutorial Game Boy modding videos. So this could be it.
I love that. So my other game, I won't go too long, but I'll just say that I had some time to jump back into Dragon's Dogma, and You know when you're in an RPG, kind of like The Witcher or Fallout 4, where it probably sounds like where you're at with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where you're like, you have a bunch of quests that you need to finish, but you get stuck. You're like, what was I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? And then you just got to Google that real quick, like, where is Jasper? And then it's like, Jasper is in this room behind this thing, and he comes in the afternoon, and then after that you'll find him in the town market. I'm like, I am so glad I looked that up, because you just saved me hours of my time. I've made it this far without having to look up too much stuff. I'm not going to beat myself up too hard for not knowing where a roaming character is. And Dragon's Dogma, great game, lots of charm, but it is missing some of those modern creature comforts of like when you could trust, you can't, in other words, you can't trust their waypoints. Like when they tell you someone's going to be in this area, like you'll be circling around it, and like sometimes like they're on the roof in the corner, and then they leave at a different time. It's like, I would have never known that. So I was able to wrap up a quest where there's this family and I need to find them, and I need to convince their landlord to let them stay. And my conclusion, this is always my conclusion, is like, can I just pay you to make this go away? And it was like, yeah, give me 80 grand. It's like, here you go. Let's just resolve it now. Here's 80 grand. I want that check mark dopamine to say I completed the quest. These people can stay at your house. I overpaid. I don't care. I'm never going to think about them again. I'm moving on to the next quest. So I was very lucky. I had plenty of money to pay my way through. So I did that. And then I'm going to keep trucking through Dragon's Dogma to really try to get as far as I can. I probably won't jump into Dragon's Dogma 2 right when it comes out. I'll wait. I want to get it physically. So I want to hear how it does performance-wise, because it's not a locked frame rate. It's unstable 30. So that. I want to make sure I let a couple patches go through, because the Yeti Den, I always have plenty to cover with Fallout and all that stuff. So I'm like, I never feel like I need to rush into a game. So I'll find ways to talk about my thoughts on the original, and then I'll kind of ease my way into the sequel when I have time. So I'm excited to hear what people think of Dragon's Dogma 2. I have a feeling it'll do really well. But your last game is Sifu. Tell us about Sifu.
Yeah, so I saw that this was part of the March PS Plus free downloads, and I got really excited because I always wanted to try out this game. It's sort of like an action fighter-esque sort of game. I'm sure you've seen it. Have you seen it, Spencer? Any trailers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sifu?
I'm really familiar with Sifu. Yeah.
Anyways, I just played it for the first time yesterday, and I ended up only playing through, I think, the first level at the warehouse where you fight the first guy, the botanist. That was really fun. I like the whole art direction of the game, and I like that it feels like easier than a Mortal Kombat or Tekken, other fighters. It feels more approachable, like Smash Bros. Maybe a bit harder than Smash Bros. With the combos, but it feels like maybe just a step up in difficulty than Smash Bros. And that wasn't bad at all. I thought it made it very thrilling and dynamic. But yet also the stories you're still able to progress through. I think it's really interesting how every time you die, you get older. And that's going to be interesting to see that as I play through that. But I totally got Kill Bill vibes from this game, and I'm not mad about it. I love that it's a Kill Bill vibe. Even with like the opening credits, it's all red. I'm like, this is Kill Bill, you know. So I'm gonna definitely play a little bit more of it. I don't know if I'll beat it, but I'm not done with it yet. So I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I think it's only like 10 gigabytes to download. So
I love that.
That was really nice too for people like you and I with slow internet.
Yeah,
you know,
and just minimal console space. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I always am like
Yeah, exactly.
considering upgrading the internal storage on the Xbox, but I'm like, I don't know, does it really matter? Like, am I paying for anything if I'm just adding more storage to a console? Like, is that worth $200? I don't know about that. So, yeah, it's the gigabyte storage is really important when these consoles only have like 800 gigs available to you, and some games are like 132 gigs, you know?
Yeah,
And
it might be more worth it for someone like me who I got the PS5 when it was hard to get. And my friend only had the digital version available for me to buy off him.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying that. He got two. He had one with disc and one digital only. So he's like, I'm gonna keep the disc. Do you want to buy my? They're hard to get. Do you want to buy this off me? And I was like, bro, I've been itching to play one so bad. I'm gonna just buy it. So I ended up getting that. Hindsight, I wish. I'm not gonna say I wish. I'm happy with what I did because I gotta make those memories early on, and get a little bit more of like feel for this generation's console. Totally. But I think moving forward, I'm going to practice having a little less FOMO and get the one I really want. And I'll just wait.
Totally.
I've gotten more into retro gaming, so and the backlog. We got a big backlog, Spencer. So I'm maturing. I'm getting better.
I love that. That's what we're all about here is growth. You know, we're working on ourselves as we're gaming.
Yes.
Well, that's our episode. We covered Fallout's trailer. Let us know if you guys think the Brotherhood of Steel should be straight up gnarly bad dudes, or if they should have some nuance in how they approach themselves versus the other factions. And do you hope that a certain faction of Fallout lore makes an appearance? And then we covered Dragon's Dogma 2's character creator and character creators in general. So maybe let us know who we should be role-playing as. What are your favorite fictional IP characters that that we should design? And is there any games on your radar that you're going to try and check out between now and next week, or are you gonna stick with the ones you're playing for the most part?
I'm gonna pretty much stick with what I'm playing. I might add in Baldur's Gate 3 because I ended up getting surgery right around that time, and I really didn't get to play that much. And my brother has been begging me to play, so I think I might lean into that this week if I can find time to link up with him. But Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely on my list, and I'm looking forward, like you said, to Dragon's Dogma 2. I don't know if I'll get it right when that released because I got Final Fantasy 7. But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. Are you going to be playing anything different or just the same thing?
We'll see. I should have some time to game this weekend. I want to try to wrap up some of the loose ends on Dredge. I want to check in on Vampire Survivors because they're always updating that game, and I love that game. So it kind of stresses me out when they keep updating games like that. You're like, new map, new modes, new characters. I've been trying to unlock every character for the last year and a half. Like I have 30 characters unlocked. How many more characters am I gonna have to unlock? Yeah, so maybe Vampire Survivors. Yeah, so we'll see what I end up playing. I usually try to mix it up, throw something new in, so I'll try to find something that I could check out for a little bit. But thank you guys so much for watching our podcast. Follow Jumpy Jumpwa on YouTube at Jumpy Jumpwa. And if you're not subscribed to the Yeti Den, subscribe to the Yeti Den, and we will see you all next week. Thank you so much. Later. Bye.